Hi, I'm Jos, and I want to talk about the real CI/CD and how it's communication, iteration, coffee, and donuts, or basically just people talking to each other and fixing problems. We often get sold on CI/CD like this. It's a magical conveyor belt. You have your pipeline, you commit your code, perfect cupcakes come out, except not really. Reality is often quite a little bit different. We get problems like this. You want to do your deploy, staging was all green, was all perfect, and now production breaks for some reason, even though they should be the same. Maybe you want to do your deploy, but you're waiting for someone else or you're waiting for sign-off. None of these are technical issues, they're not tooling, they're communication. The problem is coming from inside of the organization. And we can do a lot with tooling. We can automate flow, but if there's no communication, flow stops. It's about culture. Like Agatha's talk earlier, communication has to be continuous, otherwise you'll notice it in your pipeline eventually. And the best performing teams, they know this. If you read the DORA reports, high performing teams, they have high visibility, high communication, and they fix problems faster and they fail less often. So how do they do this? They bake in conversation. They do chat ups, they do stand-ups, they do highly visible reviews, they catch problems early, and that's how they are able to recover faster. Because if you don't do this, you get drift. And drift isn't laziness, it's silence. It's Slack going quiet, it's problems getting normalized. This quote, for instance, oh, I'm early. It's fine in prod. Who hasn't heard that? And when you get an error in staging, but it's fine in prod, that's normalizing issues. If you have this occurrence, you should inspect your pipeline. You should ask the question, hey, why did the pipeline not catch this, instead of saying it's bad code. Because when you do that, you have drift. And how do you spot drift? Drift is what I just said. Communication starts shifting. We get blame. We get systems, people getting blamed instead of asking those questions, instead of doing introspection. Because what we need is feedback. Like the Karate Kid, feedback repeated often, that's what builds trust, that's what builds reliability. Continuous feedback is what we're looking for here. Feedback repeated often builds resiliency, builds trust, builds confidence, and all that in the end builds reliability. Observability is part of that. You can do a great deploy, everything green, everything works, but if it stays silent, it's invisible. And where in invisibility, silence grows, and where silence grows, drift grows. Another bad anti-pattern is this guy. Nobody owns your pipeline. He shows up eventually to sign off, because someone has to. And you have ceremony, you don't have accountability. And don't get me wrong on blame. Blameless doesn't mean soft. We still inspect problems, we still look at failure, but we do it in a meaningful way. We do it in a way that actually helps. The talk we had earlier is a great example of that. Because we all know tech debt slows you down, but culture debt is the exact same thing. If you allow for drift, silence, ceremony, you're building culture debt. Because in the end, what matters is teams adapting, recovering, learning. That's why we have the DORA metrics. Culture shows up in metrics like that. Culture shows up in recovery time, lead time, visibility. Because in the end, that's what we have with that perfect conveyor belt. What ships is code, sure, but what also ships is those teams coming together, talking, fixing the problem. The result of all that work, that's what ships in the end. And I'm supposed to tie this into my title. Humans run on coffee and donuts in the end, but donuts are not just fuel, it's feedback.